All right, email marketing. It's like the foundation, for so many businesses. But are you getting everything you can out of it? Today, we're diving deep into the world of Evangelos Taxiarchis. This guy, he's shaking things up.
And what's interesting is we're not just talking about like one entrepreneur's story. We're also kind of looking at the bigger picture, the trends in marketing. We got Evangelo's own website, customer reviews on Trustpilot, even a snippet from a marketing report, like 2024 Trends Report, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And the deeper I got into this, the more intrigued I became. I mean, he built two platforms, right? Two successful email marketing platforms, Fire SNPP and No Limit Emails. But what got me hooked was like this mystery around a lesson he learned, a life-changing lesson from a tangerine tree.
Tangerine tree.
Yeah, apparently it shaped his whole business philosophy.
That's a classic hook, though.
Right?
It is. It is.
And it plays right into that human element that's becoming like even more important now, right?
The report talks about that, like AI is great, data analysis, all that, but it's the human stories that connect, that drive action.
Totally. Okay, so Evangelos, I mean, his journey is anything but conventional. Left home at 15, Greece to Italy, Italy to England, now he's in Portugal. Each time, no language skills, no contacts, just this drive to make things happen.
That's resourcefulness right there. Yeah. Remember that story about him sweeping floors in a bakery in Italy?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't speak Italian. Nope. But he figured out how to negotiate his schedule, like using flour on a tabletop.
It's pretty impressive.
That's the kind of adaptability, right? That makes him different.
It definitely speaks to a certain resilience. And that same drive, right, led him to email marketing. Studied in college, started freelancing, quickly saw, I guess, how powerful email could be for building those one-on-one connections.
But he wasn't satisfied.
Right.
With just the way things were.
Right.
Saw the limitations of those, like traditional autoresponders, subscriber limits, high costs, deliverability, all those issues.
Yeah. And, especially as businesses started to grow, rely more on email. It's like trying to run a marathon in flip-flops.
It is.
You might make some progress, but you're definitely holding yourself back.
You're holding yourself back big time.
Big time.
That's what brings us to No Limit Emails.
Right.
His solution to all that.
This is where things get interesting. This isn't just another email service. It's a whole different approach.
Yeah, it's bespoke. It's white label hosting. Puts the control back in the user's hands.
And we'll get into how that works in a bit. But first, tell me more about the secret email man you mentioned. He was like raving about personal email servers. Game changer. Is this guy like Evangelos hype man or something?
No, he's more like a satisfied customer.
Sure.
Someone who's seen firsthand how this approach can transform a business. What I gathered, this guy, he was struggling.
Yeah.
Using those traditional autoresponders, hitting those limits, costs skyrocketing. Then he switches to No Limit Emails, boom, 400% increase in sales.
Whoa, 400. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What's the secret sauce here? Is it just about having more control, or is there something else going on?
It's about control, but it's more than that. This secret email man highlighted like a few key benefits worth unpacking. First, data ownership. With the traditional platforms, you're renting space, on their servers. They get to make the rules.
It's like building a house on rented land, right? You put in all the work, but you're at the mercy of the landlord.
Exactly. With personal email servers, you own the land, you own the house, you control your data. You're not subject to like changing policies or pricing, on a whim.
So more control, potentially lower costs. What else? What were some of the other advantages that he was talking about?
He was really into avoiding data monetization.
Data monetization, meaning those big companies profiting from your data.
Yes, exactly. A lot of those free or low-cost platforms, they make money by collecting and selling your data, right? With No Limit Emails, you cut that out completely.
Makes sense. You're not just paying for the service, you're the product too. And I bet there are some serious privacy and security benefits to owning your server too.
Right, absolutely. You're not relying on some third party, to keep your data safe. You can implement your own security. Peace of mind, right? Knowing that your information is protected.
It's like having your own security system instead of depending on the neighborhood watch.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is starting to paint a picture, right, of why someone might choose No Limit Emails over those those big platforms. But I'm still curious about the specifics. How does it actually work? What makes it different, like from a tech standpoint?
Well, the key is in that white label aspect. It's not just software. It's a whole hosting infrastructure.
So instead of using their software on their servers, you're setting up shop on your own digital turf.
Exactly. You get your own dedicated IP address.
Yeah.
Which is, it's crucial for building your own sender reputation, right?
Yeah.
Avoiding the spam filters.
And with unlimited sending, you're not restricted by subscriber limits. No overage fees. It's like having an all-access pass to the email highway.
It is. It is.
Scale your list. Send as many emails as you need.
Big advantage, huge advantage for businesses, especially those growing fast or working with big lists. He even mentioned becoming a 1 million monthly email sender after switching to no limit.
1 million a month. Wow, that's a lot of tangerines. But speaking of, I can't help but wonder how that tree story ties into all this.
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
And he's a master. He is a master of building anticipation. Keeps teasing this life-changing lesson, but he hasn't, spilled the beans yet.
All right. Well, you've piqued my curiosity. Let's dive into that tangerine tree story and see what wisdom it holds. Okay, so we've got this image, right, of young Evangelos on the family fruit farm in Greece, surrounded by all these tangerine trees. What was it about this ordinary scene? Like, what sparked such a profound realization?
Well, he describes it,
Yeah.
vividly. Like he's up in the tree. It's a hot summer day. He's picking tangerines, the scent of the citrus, the warmth of the sun, and he has this like epiphany.
I can almost feel it.
Yeah.
Smell those tangerines. It sounds idyllic. But what was the epiphany?
Okay, so he says, like, I'm up in the tree, right? I look down, and I see all these fallen tangerines on the ground, and I realize something. He says, the tree doesn't care which tangerines get picked, which ones fall. It just keeps producing more and more, year after year.
Okay, yeah. I'm seeing a metaphor forming here. He's not just talking about fruit, is he?
No, he's connecting it, right, to email marketing, to life in general. He goes on to say, that's when it hit me. I don't need to worry about every single email. I don't need to obsess over open rates or conversions. Just need to keep showing up, keep providing value, trust that the right people will find me.
It's about letting go of that need to control, that feeling that every email has to be like a home run. Instead, focus on consistency, on good content. Trust that the results will follow.
It's a shift.
Yeah.
It's a powerful shift in perspective. And it actually ties back to that marketing trends report we talked about, earlier.
Right.
Remember they talked about the human element in a world that's like increasingly driven by data and AI.
Yeah. The idea that even with all the tech, it's still the human stories, the genuine connections that make it different.
Exactly. And that's what I find so fascinating about this tangerine tree thing. It's understanding that, like nature, it has its rhythms, its cycles. Business does too. Life does too. There'll be seasons of abundance, seasons where things feel like a bit barren. But the key is to keep showing up. Keep nurturing your craft, right? And trust that the fruit will come in its own time.
It's a reminder to play the long game, to focus on building something sustainable, and to not get discouraged by the ups and downs.
And it's funny how this ties back to Evangelos' own personal journey. He didn't speak the language when he landed in Italy or England, but he found a way to communicate, to connect, to create opportunities for himself. He trusted that if he kept putting himself out there, good things would happen, and they did.
He embodies that tangerine tree wisdom in everything he does. Not afraid to take risks, to try new things, to put himself out there, and he encourages others to do the same.
That's a great point. Think about that 30-day email challenge he offers, right? It's not just learning the technical side of email marketing. It's about developing that mindset of consistency, of showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it.
It's about building those habits that ultimately lead to success, not just in email marketing, but in anything.
Right, exactly. So for our listener, right, who might be feeling overwhelmed by email marketing or just unsure where to start, what do you think is the most valuable takeaway from this tangerine tree lesson?
I think it's about finding that balance between effort, right, and acceptance. Put in the work, nurture your skills, build your list, craft compelling emails, but also accept that you can't control everything. Some emails are going to resonate, others won't. Some people will subscribe, others will unsubscribe.
Right. It's about focusing on what you can control, the quality of your content, the consistency of your efforts, and letting go of the rest.
And just like that tangerine tree, keep producing, keep putting yourself out there, keep sharing your gifts with the world. Who knows? You might inspire someone to have their own, like, aha moment. Okay, so we've unpacked the tangerine tree. Feeling pretty inspired. But let's bring things back down to earth a bit and talk about the practicalities of no limit emails. For our listener who's intrigued by this whole personal email server thing, how would you explain, like, how is it different from the MailChimps, the Constant Contacts, all those?
It's the white label approach, right?
Yeah.
Instead of using a third-party platform, you're essentially getting the tools, the infrastructure to run your own server.
So it's like having your own email department in-house. You're not beholden to someone else's like rules or limits.
Exactly, yeah. Complete control over your data, your sending, your branding, and that control, it translates into some big advantages.
Like what are some of the specific benefits that someone might, experience making that switch?
Well, for one, no subscriber limits. You can grow your list as big as you want. No hitting a ceiling, no crazy overage fees like you see with the traditional platforms.
That's a big one, especially for, businesses that are growing fast or working with large lists.
And then there's deliverability. Crucial, right? For any email marketer, no limit emails gives you a dedicated IP address, meaning your emails less likely to get flagged as spam, more likely to land in that inbox.
Because your reputation as a sender is tied to your unique IP.
Right, exactly. With shared IPs, which is what most traditional platforms use, you're kind of lumped in with everyone else on that server. So if one person is spamming, it can affect everybody.
It's like sharing a phone line with a telemarketer. No matter how legit your calls are, people are going to be hesitant to answer.
Exactly. With no limit, you control your own reputation.
Yeah.
And they give you a lot of guidance. Support, making sure you're following best practices to keep a good standing with the email providers.
So it's not just about the tech, it's the education, the support that comes with it. Speaking of support, those Trustpilot reviews, man, they were glowing. People were raving about the customer service.
Really impressive, yeah. People were talking about the daily training videos, the live meeting room where they can, interact, get questions answered, 24/7 support. They mentioned.
Speaks to that community aspect we talked about. It's not just like a software. It's a whole ecosystem designed to, empower email marketers, help them succeed.
And I think that's what sets it apart ultimately. It's not just about sending emails. It's about building relationships,
right?
Fostering trust, creating a positive experience for both the sender and the receiver.
It's like the difference between like throwing a mass-produced flyer on someone's doorstep and like hand delivering a personalized letter. It's that thoughtfulness, that intention, that genuine connection.
That's a great way to put it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listener who might be considering, taking their email marketing to that next level?
Well, I think the first takeaway is be bold. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Explore different approaches, especially if you're feeling limited by those traditional platforms.
Yeah, and remember, control and ownership, they're key. You want to be in the driver's seat when it comes to your data, your sending, your brand's reputation.
Don't underestimate the power of community, surrounding yourself with supportive people who share your values, your goals. It makes a world of difference.
It really does. Find mentors, join online communities, go to events, learning from others, sharing your own knowledge. Invaluable.
And finally, remember that tangerine tree wisdom. Focus on the inputs, right? Not just the outcomes. Consistency, persistence, and providing that genuine value. Those are the keys to building a thriving email marketing strategy.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of Evangelos Taxiarchis and no limit emails. A story that reminds us that innovation can come from the most unexpected places. And that sometimes the simplest lessons are the most profound.
For our listener, if you're curious to learn more, we'll include links to Evangelos' website, No Limit Emails, and those glowing Trustpilot reviews in the show notes.
And before we sign off, one final thought. What's your tangerine tree? What's that principle, that belief that guides you in your work, in your life? Take some time to reflect on that and let it empower you to create without limits.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.